bond between people and their pets is so strong that it often feels like they're never going to forget us. And today, we're going to prove that to be true because animals truly are our best friends. From a bear adopted by a Russian couple to a woman and her wolves, here are 15 animals that do not forget their owner after years. Number 15. The Russian Bear. Life doesn't always go the way we expect, even when you're a bear. I mean, who would have expected that a brown bear would happily live in the middle of suburban Russia with a friendly human couple? Probably anybody that ever read Winnie the Pooh and believes in fairy tales, but the rest of us, not so much. The brown bear is one of the strongest animals in the world. Although they frequently live in forests and tundra, Stepan has had a different life.
На ручки, ой, на ручки, ой, мой на ручки идет, да.
Stepan is a domesticated pet bear who's made a neat little life in Moscow with his owners, Svetlana and Yuri Pantelinko. Stepan had been orphaned in the forest and was found by hunters in a terrible condition, something that the Pantelinkos just couldn't let slide. They took him in, and 23 years later, Stepan has grown into a cute and friendly guy who loves watching TV with his owners, helping with household chores, and generally being a family bear. Obviously, we're not advocating going out and adopting a bear, but clearly it's something that can work in the right circumstances. I mean, Stepan is well on his way to becoming the sort of bear that inspires a Disney movie, and a friendly bear bonding with a couple, doing chores and watching TV, well, that's a blockbuster waiting to happen. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14. Anita and the Wolves. Long misunderstood and misrepresented, wolves are generally feared by humans around the world. But it turns out they're not as dangerous as we've been led to believe, at least not according to one Norwegian woman who somehow managed to uncover the surprising truth about these fearsome beasts. Anita spent 2 years observing a pack of wolves and interacting with them at Polar Park in Bardu, Norway. At no point did she feel threatened by these wolves, nor did they even try to attack her. In fact, she became unusually close with the wolves. And it seems they felt the same way. Anita left the wolves for 2 months. When she returned, the wolves seemed to welcome her with open arms, or paws. They welcomed her with open something. Clearly, befriending a wolf is far from impossible, if, you're interested in being besties with a wolf. Actually, you might not want to just go searching for a friend in the wild. Even when they've lived alongside humans for years, most wolves will still attack humans without hesitation. However, Anita's wolves are so socialized and domesticated they rarely attack people. So again, if there's any lesson you should take from this, it's that you should absolutely not go try and hug a wolf. Number 13. The Crying German Shepherd. Some of us have to work long hours or leave our pets alone during the day while we're at school or work. But our four-legged friends are more than just pets to us, they're family. Which is why they're so happy to see you after a long day of work, even to the point of tears. A man had to say goodbye to his beloved German Shepherd Freya while he was away for a few months with work. Even though she had Skype calls with her dear owner and was taken care of by his mother, it was still difficult for Freya when her owner finally returned. His family had a special surprise for little Freya. They hid her owner behind the door and started recording. What followed is enough to melt the heart of any animal lover. Freya let out a yelp of happiness. It's an incredibly heartwarming moment to see two best friends reunited after several months apart. It's funny, there are billions of people in the world, but no one will give you a heartfelt welcome quite like a dog. And I'm just fine with that. Not sure I want my neighbor trying to lick my face when I come home anyway. Number 12. Christian the lion. It is heartbreaking to see lions in cages at zoos. Even worse than that is the fact that at one time you could buy lions at department stores in London. Yes, 2 Australian men actually bought a lion from Harrods department store in 1969, and the story is, well, it's as intense as you'd expect. The good news is that the lion wasn't in captivity for long. Christian the lion was later reintroduced to the African wild by conservationist George Adamson. Then 1 year later, Christian's former owners decided to enter the wild in the hopes of finding him in his natural habitat and discovering if maybe he remembered his old buddies. They found the lion pretty quickly, and it turned out that he did remember them, and clearly he missed them. And the 2 lionesses who were with him also accepted them. Not a bad outcome, all things considered, right? It takes a considerable amount of courage to be unafraid of an approaching lion, especially one that could easily have forgotten who you are and has decided that it wants to eat you. Obviously, these guys got very lucky. Turns out life isn't all singing lions and elaborate Disney-fied takes on Shakespeare. Number 11. The Leopard and the Rescuer. 2 friends separated by distance for 13 years finally meet again. Kuma the leopard first crossed paths with Alberto Lena in 1996, when they were both on the Ivory Coast. But this story is a lot more dramatic than you could even begin to expect. In 1996, Alberto saved 2 leopard cubs, Kuma and Tango, from an illegal trader. They were less than a week old and no bigger than kittens. He provided them with food and shelter until they grew too big to be cared for. At that point, he had to hand them over to the local zoo, even though that zoo had fallen into disrepair and was in need of funds itself. Sadly, the female leopard, Tango, escaped and was shot, leaving Kuma alone, but Alberto committed himself to taking care of and feeding him every single day. By 1999, Kuma was in the care of professionals, and Alberto didn't see him for another 13 years. In 2012, Alberto and his wife went to Shamwari Game Reserve, specifically to visit Kuma. As soon as Kuma saw Alberto, he recognized him and came straight to the fence. Alberto was greeted with a soft meow, and the 2 shared many happy memories of one another. I guess a leopard really doesn't change its spots. Or its memory? I don't understand leopard biology. Number 10. Elephant and Trainer. We all know it's true, an elephant never forgets. Or do they? Apparently the answer is a resounding no. And Christy the Asian elephant is no exception to that rule. Even after 35 years, she was able to remember her former trainer. I can't even remember my old teachers. Peter Adamson worked at Murray Park Zoo in the early 70s and 80s as a trainer, mainly working with the elephants. Christy was one of his students, and it seems she was one of the best in his class. Now, 30 years on, Christy the Asian elephant still remembers her former trainer. In fact, she seems to have fond memories of him and her time at the zoo in Scotland. The pair were reunited while Adamson was visiting friends in Germany. He made a point of visiting the Neunkircher Zoo, and the rest is, well, a very moving history. At 52 years old, Christy is past the average life expectancy of Asian elephants, which is pretty crazy, but for all we know, Christy was thriving entirely on the fond memories she had with Peter. So just to reconfirm what we all knew was true, yes, elephants never forget. If they ever take over the planet, you can bet they're gonna hold some deadly grudges. Number 9. Circus monkey cries. It's a truly horrible feeling when a friend you love can't be with you for whatever reason. I mean, we've just gone through a whole year of this, right? So when we reunite with our loved ones, it's understandable to cry. That's what this circus monkey did. The monkey in this video has spent most of his life working in the circus. Now I'll let you guys decide whether or not that's a good thing or an inhumane act, but the monkey in this video formed a surprisingly strong bond with a human spectator named Miro during one unique stop. When the circus returned to Miro's town, he decided to see if the monkey would remember him. Turns out, not only did the monkey remember him, but the monkey was overjoyed to see him to the point of tears. Miro showed the monkey true kindness and generosity, and the monkey really appreciated it. This is yet another lesson about the importance of being nice to animals. I mean, it's never nice to see an animal crying, but the fact that they're crying because they're happy to see you is obviously pretty wonderful. Number 8. Chimpanzee Reunion. 25 years ago, animal behaviorist Linda Koebner rescued a group of chimpanzees from the cages of a research laboratory and taught them how to live in the wild. 2 decades later, she was reunited with those same chimps, and the reaction is beautiful. Koebner had founded a non-profit chimpanzee sanctuary designed to teach chimps how to live in the wild and protect themselves. So her love for these intelligent animals has been well known for a long time, but do the chimps understand how much she loves them? Clearly the answer is yes. When Koebner returned to the enclosure 25 years later, she was met with open arms and a lot of love from these same chimps. Chimpanzees may not be able to use words, but that thank you hug is a pretty clear way of communicating their true feelings without saying a word. Koebner's work has clearly had a lasting impact on these chimpanzees. After all, she basically saved them from a life of experimentation and all manner of unpleasant things. When somebody changes your life in such a significant way, it's impossible to thank somebody enough. Number 7. Gorilla Reunion. When you grow up rich and surrounded by exotic pets and wild animals, you're kind of destined to live a life that is, different. Damien Aspinall is the son of the legendary gambler and unique zookeeper John Aspinall, and you can tell, the guy is, well, he's kinda nuts. When he was a young boy, Damien's best friends were bears and wolves, and to him, that was totally normal. Again, just to remind you, he was rich, so it makes sense, but all these decades later, Damien hasn't forgotten his roots. His own children shared a nursery with a baby gorilla that they treated as a big brother, and that's just one example of their connection with animals. As you can see from this video, the animals really love Damien. This gorilla, Queeby, was adopted and raised by Damien until the age of 5. At that point, Damien released him back into the wild. 5 years later, Damien returned to visit Queeby in Africa, and as you can see, he was remembered very fondly by the gorilla. Pretty much as soon as he heard Damien's voice, Queeby hurried out to see his old friend, and the reunion was as heartwarming as you probably imagined. Number 6. African Cheetah Reunion. How often do you get to meet a cheetah? Not often, but then that's not really the point here. This guy didn't just meet a cheetah, he befriended a cheetah. Well, technically he befriended a cheetah, which is obviously the highest level of friendship you can achieve with a big cat, without transforming into one, that is. This guy met Gabriel the cheetah in 2014, when the little guy was just 10 months old. And soon enough, his whole life was centered around spending time with Gabriel, wrestling, hanging out, letting the cheetah groom, feeding and even sleeping at night with him.
Oh, how that hurts.
Yes, it turns out that being besties with a cheetah is a lot more intense and time-consuming than any of us could possibly have expected. Well, okay, most of us could probably have expected it, but hey, I like to live life as if it's a cartoon. A year after the guy left, he returned to see his old buddy, but Gabriel looked a bit confused when the man first visited him in his enclosure. Over the course of the next few weeks, the man returned frequently, and the cheetah started to recognize him, his old personality rising to the surface. Talk about besties. Number 5. Say the horse. When you fall in love with your dream horse the way this woman did, there's no greater joy in life, except maybe when you don't get to say goodbye. That's what happened to this woman, but don't worry, there's a very happy ending on the horizon. This woman fell in love with Say while she was interning for the horse's breeder in 2012. Over the short time they had together, the woman felt that Say had helped her overcome many of the emotional challenges she was facing. But while she was on a family vacation, the woman discovered that Say had been sold. She never got to say goodbye. After a while, she began thinking about Say once again, wondering where she was and how she was doing. Her mother came up with the perfect surprise, tracking down Say and reuniting them in the most heartwarming way. But as if all of this wasn't moving enough, the story continues. 2 years after this video went viral online, the woman got a call from Say's owners. They had just seen how much the dream horse had meant to the woman and asked if she wanted to buy Say. The woman had been saving money from the day she lost her dream horse, and now they got to spend their days together. I told you there was a happy ending. Number 4. Dog slowly recognizes dad. Having your dog escape or being taken away from you is stressful, and it's emotionally exhausting. Paquita was a sweet dog with a good home, but a series of poor decisions led to a very difficult period of time as a stray. Paquita was a beautiful dog with a loving family and a warm forever home. Then she escaped from that home and could not find her way back. For an extended period afterward, Paquita lived on the streets as a stray dog, without a home and nobody to look after her. Finally, an animal refuge stepped up to plate to save the day. It took 2 years before Paquita was rescued by her initial forever family. Prepare for one of the most touching reunions you're ever going to see. Once she recognized her former owner, Paquita's nerves completely faded away, replaced by excitement and joy. It's clear that these guys have a lot of time to make up for, but hey, the important thing is that these two have finally been reunited, and the forever home is as full of love, warmth, and adorableness as ever. I don't know if adorableness is a word, but I've committed to it now. Number 3. The Happy Goose. Can a goose ever truly love a human? It sounds like one of those insane questions that a robot would ask in a kids movie, but we're asking it for real. The answer, as it turns out, is probably. This video shows the moment that a goose was reunited with his person, and while you may be expecting the typical video of a giant bird encountering a human, by which I mean the bird is a jerk, you would be wrong. In fact, the bird is thrilled to see her, and not because he's about to attack her. He runs over, wings outstretched, clearly looking for a hug, and he gets one. I don't know how long the woman was away from the goose, but it's pretty clear that these two have a surprisingly strong bond. Again, I would not recommend that you do this to some random goose you happen to encounter. In fact, that seems like a surefire recipe to lose an eye, but building a solid and meaningful relationship with a goose can apparently lead to a lifetime of love and fond wishes. Or you could lose an eye. I guess it's basically one big gamble. But hey, what is life without risk? Number 2. Hyena remembers owner. Would you consider adopting a hyena? I would say probably not, but thanks for the offer. Some people, however, really love these psychotic little guys. And let's be honest, I'm not totally sure if that's a red flag, but I'm gonna say it is. This guy spent a good portion of his life looking after Jake, an African spotted hyena. Again, if you don't know anything about hyenas, you just have to know that they're gleefully psychotic predators who will run down prey until they give up, and then kill them while laughing. That's pretty much the hyena. After 7 years away from Jake, this guy had a reunion of his own, and it was surprisingly moving. As soon as Jake spotted him, he seemed to remember. Watch as the little guy goes totally nuts, letting out that creepy cackle while playing around with his old friend. Hyenas are kinda nuts, but I will admit that this is cute. There's just something so sweet about old friends getting to be reunited, even if one of those old friends is kinda crazy, and the other is a hyena. Yeah, see what I did there? Thank you very much. I'm here till the end of the video. Number 1. The Parrot. In 2002, Amy Dumke found herself in the pet store that would change her life forever. She just didn't know it yet. In that pet store, she met Delbert, a colorful parrot who would become one of her best pals. But it wasn't to last. Amy was unfortunately forced to give Delbert up for adoption. Over the next few years, her life changed in many wonderful ways. She got married and had kids. Then one day, 11 years later, Amy's daughter decided to adopt the bird as her own pet with her mother's blessing. After posting a photo of her daughter with a bird on social media, Amy was contacted by the pet store owner who knew all about Delbert and knew where he'd gone. Delbert's new owner decided to give Amy the bird back, something that delighted the whole family. Apparently, the second he saw Amy again, Delbert started rubbing his face against her hand. She believes this is a surefire sign that Delbert remembers her and all the good memories they have together. And honestly, we're inclined to agree. Seems like they're destined to be together forever. What is the most memorable experience you have had with a pet? Let us know in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.